So one day I was on my way home from school and I got in the house and I heard my dad doing it with my uncle's wife. So I opened the door silently to make sure I was right before I called my uncle, and I was right. My aunt was giving my dad. I then went to my room and called my uncle, and he told me to go in there and say he's pulling up in the driveway and to let him know what they do after I told them. So I walked in there and told them, and my aunt ended up jumping out the window, and my dad ran down the stairs and he fell and passed out. A few minutes later, my uncle finally gets there, and he gets his wedding ring, throws it down the garbage disposal, and turns it on so the ring is destroyed. He then takes my aunt and my dad to the hospital, and when they felt better, he tells them that he has a surprise for them. When my aunt and dad get to the house, they walk in, and my uncle is beep, my aunt's mom, and my dad's mom. So, moral of the story, don't with my uncle, because you don't know what type of payback you can get. And I just wanted to say thank you all for 40K. I appreciate you all, and thanks to those who submitted their stories.
This is why you should never leave the table when you're on a blind date. One of my best friends and I worked at the same restaurant. When I came in later that day for my shift, she told me a crazy story. She said that her first table were this guy and this girl, and she could tell they were on a first date. The girl was nervous, so she ordered a glass of wine. As far as she knew, the date seemed to be going well, and the girl got up to go to the bathroom. Right when my friend was about to come over and bring the silverware, she saw him put something in her wine. My friend, obviously terrified and freaking out, let our manager know, who then let the police know, and ran into the bathroom to tell her what was going on. The girl ended up staying in the bathroom until the police came, arrested him, and escorted him out of the building. It was noon on a Tuesday. You don't think you're going to be drugged at noon on a Tuesday.
Story time about how I snuck out of the house and got caught by my crazy psycho mother. Warning you guys, but here we go. At the time, I was 19, and I just got done with my first year at a university. And while I was at school, I met this cute boy, which we're going to call Kendrick. And that whole year, we were talking. So summertime rolls around, and I go back to live with my parents. And when it came to my parents, they were very strict about me talking to boys, especially my mom. And I know I was 19, but my mom did not allow me to go out if she didn't know where I was at. So this one day, Kendrick is like, oh, we should go out one night. And I went and told my mom that I was going to the mall with my friends. But as the time got later, it was like too late, and my mom started blowing up my phone. And usually when she does that, I'm in big trouble. So I just decided not to pick up, because I know I'm going to get in trouble anyway, so I might as well stay out and have fun with whatever time I had. But that was the biggest mistake. Y'all come back for part 2 because it gets bad. Part 2 of how I got caught sneaking out of the house by my crazy psycho mother. So like I said earlier, I was out and she was blowing my phone up and I was not answering. Because I knew I was going to get in trouble anyway, so I might as well just have fun. Well, as the night was getting later, I had to go home. And when my boyfriend Kendrick dropped me off, there was a whole bunch of cars outside of my house, and police cars. When I walked into my house, I saw all of my family, uncle, aunts, cousins, police. It was a whole bunch of people in there. I had my uncles and aunt walking up to me asking what happened to me. Said they called the police because they thought I got kidnapped. At one point, I was going to lie and said I got kidnapped because I didn't want to get in trouble. But I just told everybody I was out with a friend. But when my mom saw me, it was over. It was over. I should have just went ahead and buried my grave then and there. Because I got my ass whooped in front of everybody and the cops.
Storytime about how a stranger wandered into my house and it led to something amazing. I woke up one night to someone ringing my doorbell over and over vigorously. I looked at the clock and I saw it was 3 a.m. I went to the door and looked out of the peephole and saw a young woman outside on my porch. I opened the door and could immediately tell that she was intoxicated. She started explaining to me that she was at a bar down the street and lost her phone. That's when she asked if she could use mine and call someone for a ride home. It was freezing outside, so I reluctantly let her in. She asked me for water, so I led her to the kitchen. She proceeded to open my fridge and start eating my lunch meat and various other snacks. She then kicked off her heels and sat down at the table with a jar of pickles and started talking to me like she's known me for years. She told me her name was Krista and asked me how work was and what I was up to tomorrow. I reminded her that she needs to call someone to come pick her up and handed her my cell phone. She took the phone and FaceTimed her brother. She told him that she needs a ride but she has no idea where she's at and handed me the phone to talk to him. I told him the situation and gave him my address to come pick her up ASAP. A few seconds later, my doorbell began ringing again and someone started banging on my door. I went to the door and opened it to find a guy outside and he looked furious. This is when things got intense. Part 2 of how a stranger wandered into my house and it led to something amazing. I opened the door and quickly found out that this guy was Chris's boyfriend, and it became clear that they were in some sort of fight. Chris started telling him to leave and accused him of following her and kept screaming at him that it's over between them. The guy turned his attention to me and asked what guy Krista was here to sleep with and began accusing her of coming here to cheat. He started yelling at me for helping her. All of a sudden, he grabbed Krista by her hair and started dragging her out of the house. I quickly ran after them and started screaming at the top of my lungs for him to let her go. Luckily, one of my neighbors heard the commotion and came to our aid. The guy let Krista go, but now he was trying to fist fight my neighbor. A few seconds later, a truck pulled up to my house and a man jumped out, which turned out to be Krista's brother. I quickly explained the situation and helped Krista into his truck. Krista's brother proceeded to confront her boyfriend, who was still making a scene, knocked him out clean with one hit, and drove off, leaving her boyfriend knocked out cold on my front lawn. Her brother texted me the next day thanking me and apologizing for knocking that guy out in my yard. We started texting back and forth and getting along, and I actually asked him out a couple days later. We've been dating for a few months now thanks to his drunk sister stumbling onto my porch. I guess everything happens for a reason.
Storytime of how I found out that I was dating my own brother. Yes, biological brother, same mom, same dad. So a little background information, my mom passed away when I was 2, my dad is currently in jail, and I live with my grandpa. So at the time, I was 14, about to be 15, he was 17, about to be 18. So how this all started is one day I was at a baseball game with my friends and he happened to be there. I was fangirling over this boy. Like, I saw him and I was like, I'm going to marry him one day. I was feeling a little bold, so I went over and got his snap. And then I figured out that he had the same last name as me, and I was like, dude, that is dope. My exact words were, now I don't have to change my last name when we get married. So we hung out the rest of the baseball game, and I was starting to fall in love with this kid. Like, his smile, his laugh, I talked about him to my friends the rest of the night, and me and him started snapping for a while. So we started to hang out a lot. We may have hooked up a couple times, but I had to keep this all secret from my grandma because she forbade I dated somebody. So fast forward a couple weeks, we start dating. Months and months and months go by. Our 9 months come, and I finally tell my grandma, and this is where it gets bad. I'm running out of time, like, for part 2. Part 2 and how my boyfriend became my stepdad. So continuing on with the story, I told him that he was disgusting, and then I just ended our relationship. And like at first he wouldn't let me break up with him, but then finally we were just both like, okay, this is not gonna work out. So about 2 days later, I come home and I see him at my house, and I'm like, dude, we're not getting back together, so don't try, like, you're weird. And he has the audacity to go, I'm not here for you, I'm here for your mother. And at that point I was like, I'm moving out. And that night I heard some noises that I didn't want to hear. And then my mom ended up getting pregnant again. She's only like 34, I think, but he's 19. So the age gap isn't really that big of a difference. But it's the point that my boyfriend decided to F my mom, get her pregnant, and now I don't even know how I'm related to this child. Yeah, so now my mom's pregnant with my ex-boyfriend's child. I mean, I'm so nice to the kid because it's my step-sibling's dad. But at the same time, I secretly want to, like, you know, inject him out of the game. In the game, I want to inject him out of his life, so, yeah.
Part 3 of me doing my nails. Here I'm buffing my nails, you know, trying to get them shits unshined. And I'm dusting the, you know, powder, dust, whatever, away with my little rose brush. And then here, what the nails look like. They're sturdy. They're really good. They're made out of gel, like I said. And I just applied a little thin layer of base gel just to make them a little stronger. As you can see here, just one thin layer and that's it. And then I didn't film the part where I put the black on the pinky and the pointer finger and add the chrome powder to make it look like a mirror effect. And unfortunately, when I was doing this, I kind of dropped the powder. And on one of the fingers, I did a little star design. And as you can see here, look, I dropped it. Oh my gosh, like part 4.
Oh no.
Story time about the boy across the street who used to stalk me. So a little background information. My parents and I moved into a new house that was literally 5 minutes from where I used to live. But I went to private school, and almost all the other kids in my town went to the public school. So I didn't really know a lot of the kids in my town. Well, a week after we moved in, our neighbors across the street invited us to a barbecue. While we were there, I started talking to our neighbor's older son, and him and I started to get along really well. Like, in a flirty way. Their older son was a senior, I was a sophomore, and their younger son was a freshman. Well, I kind of talked to the younger son, but he was just like giving me really weird vibes. So for the next few weeks, I started hanging out with their older son a lot, and we would talk all the time. Well, the one day whenever I went over their house, it was super weird. His younger brother kept saying, "Oh, I think I know you from somewhere. Like, I swear I know you."
I was a product of an affair between my mom and dad. My mom was already married and had a 1-year-old daughter. He wanted to abort me, but my dad begged her and paid her a hefty sum. She signed over all rights and I didn't see her for my 14 years of life. She recently contacted my dad saying she wanted to get to know me better, and he said it's entirely up to me. I was skeptical but decided to meet her. I've been talking to my mom's side for about 2 months when at a family gathering they all sat me down and said the reason they contacted me was because my half-sister was having kidney failure and was basically dying. At a loss for words, I got up and left. I told my dad and he said it's entirely up to me but I should get tested just to see before I make my decision. So I did. When my mom found out, she thought this was me agreeing and told everyone the good news. I did a lot of thinking and I decided I would not be donating my kidney. This family had done nothing for me. The only reason they tried to get in contact was for my kidney, so I don't want anything to do with them. I got loads of hateful calls and messages, but decided to stand by my decision. My stepsister called me and said I'm a douche for giving her false hope. People are saying I'm wrong because I can save a life. My stepsister did nothing wrong. But I feel so used. Am I the asshole for not giving my sister my kidney?
So tell me about a time that you went to the nail salon and didn't end up leaving with what you asked for. I'll go first. So I went into the nail salon wanting to get blue marble nails, but I already had ombre acrylic underneath that didn't really match with the acrylic that they needed to use to get a good marble look, so they decided they were going to try it with paint. The girl was like, you know what, this isn't really working out, it doesn't look good, and this guy came over and was like, let me do it. So he takes over, he does it, doesn't really look good. So we're like, you know what, whatever, we'll just try something else entirely, and he's like, what do you want to do? I had no idea, so I told him to wing it. He asked me if I like animal print and...
Hope you guys liked this video and found it helpful. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. It does help support us, and let's know what videos you guys want to see.